Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
We'll hear about how EPA overreach is affecting our industry and take a look at how the fall cattle markets are shaping up. Plus, we'll find out how genetic testing could help in the fight against BRD.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. In our news this week, members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association met recently in Denver for the Cattle Industry Summer Conference. One of the topics of concern was the impact of Environmental Protection Agency regulations, as well as the EPA's improper release of producers' personal information 2 separate times earlier this year. We asked some of the leaders attending the conference for comment on the EPA and the issue of regulatory overreach.
It's absolutely incredible that the EPA could release private, confidential, personal identification information to special interest groups. Not only once, but then turn around and do it again after everybody knew they blew it big time when they did it the first time. We've held hearings with the EPA asking them why it happened, what accountability measures are being put in place to prevent it from ever happening again. It's simply unacceptable. We'll continue to hold their feet to the fire. I don't think it's an accident that it happened twice. That's why we got to get to the bottom of it.
We're really concerned about the Environmental Protection Agency. Again, I want to reiterate that we all want clean water, clean land, clean air, and safe products. But sometimes people, either through misguidance or overzealousness, have come in and started imposing really horrendous regulations on farmers. We've battled dust, where they want to regulate dust coming off of a farm. Something that's really difficult to even manage, and yet we find ourselves being squozen in the vice. Now, in the last year, we've had an issue with the Environmental Protection Agency gathering data on producers. And Homeland Security warned them, don't do this. Well, under the Freedom of Information Act, they felt like they had to then divulge that information to some extreme environmental groups who now have the names and addresses and phone numbers and GPS coordinates, locations of producers across this country. We challenged them on that, and they stepped back and said, you're right, we were wrong. They were very kind. They went to the groups and said, please give us the information back. Well, that does not ensure that they haven't made copies of that. And you know, Homeland Security warned them this could be a terrorist act. And you're feeding the information. So here on the one hand, you have the government asking for information, which you give. And then they turn around and hand it to an organization, to some organizations that may come in and cause you harm. And we've seen some of that happen in this country with some organizations. So that is a concern. How do you keep them on task, making sure the land and the water and the air are clean and taken care of without them getting overboard? And so, yes, we continue to battle that, we continue to watch that, we continue to monitor it. It's extremely important.
Join NCBA as they defend our industry from EPA overreach and help address other major issues in Washington, D.C. Find out more at cattlemantocattleman.org. It isn't just government regulation facing farmers and ranchers. There are a number of concerns on the minds of producers across the country. Cattlemen and women recently took a few moments to share what they believe is the biggest challenge facing our beef cattle industry.
I'm vice chairman of the Political Action Committee, and personally, I think it's politics. I think that Washington, D.C. and the laws that are coming down, what's going on in Washington, D.C. with the folks that we have to, if you will, go to the Hill and work against, they certainly have a big war chest, and I think that we certainly need to keep stepping up the way we have and put a lot of money in our pack, because I think that's going to make the difference in the long run.
You know, I think the price of beef is a lot higher than our competitive proteins, the pork and the chicken, and it just seems like once it gets to that level, then all of a sudden we can't go no higher, and our input costs keep going up. So I think the big threat right now is the price of our meat, and we've got to get more competitive with our competitors.
I think trying to find out what the consumer wants and then not making any compromises in giving the consumer their desire. I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we need to overcome.
Probably one of the bigger challenges is being able to portray our lifestyle and our production practices to a consuming public that is increasingly becoming very, very concerned about what their family eats, what they eat, and we provide a great, wholesome, safe, delicious product, and we just have to continue to strive to be able to get that message out and to be able to kind of tell our story. And I think that's always going to be a pretty big challenge for us.
I think the biggest challenge is dealing with Mother Nature itself, being able to adapt to the weather conditions that we're given and being able to handle those.
You know, I don't know. We take the challenges one at a time. You know, I mean, there's lots of challenges. There always has been. You know, I found a letter that my grandfather wrote in the 1960s, and as I was reading it, it just made me laugh because they had all their problems that they were dealing with back then, and we got all our problems we're dealing with now. You know, but I think the important thing is to stay focused on the positives. And the positives are we've got a great product. People love it, not only people in the United States, but around the world. And we're the only producers, basically the only producers in the world that can provide a product that we can provide for the world.
Joining me now is Kate Maher, NCBA Director of Membership. Thanks for coming to the show, Kate.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
NCBA plays a significant role in protecting and defending producers' interests in Washington, D.C. Why is that so important?
You know, it's so important because our members are doing the important work of raising cattle and producing beef for families in America and across the world. They have to be home to do that. They can't be in Washington, D.C., in the halls of Congress, you know, on days when they have hearings. So our staff does that. That's what they do for our members. So our members can be working cattle in California or weaning calves in, you know, Iowa, or doing that kind of important work on a daily basis. Our staff is in D.C. making sure that our members are represented and they have their interests at heart.
You oftentimes talk about the benefits and the importance, frankly, of that state and national partnership. Tell us what that means and the benefits of being a member, both of your state affiliate as well as NCBA.
Well, NCBA is proud to be a grassroots organization. We are more effective in defending this industry with the partnership we have with our state affiliates. So we work with our state partnerships to make sure that their voices are heard and represented. Really, by becoming a member of your state association, you're protecting your interest in your state, and by becoming a member of your national association, you're protecting your interests nationally. You're really making your state membership more effective by joining NCBA because you're making your state's voice heard on national policy on a bigger level.
Okay, you get out and talk to a lot of members across the country. What are some of the big issues, and specifically, what is NCBA doing to represent its members on those issues?
Well, meeting producers is the best part of my job, and you know what big issue isn't out there facing agriculture today? You know, the Farm Bill is going to expire at the end of September, and it looks like they're not going to get it one talked about for a few months now. Immigration is a huge issue for agriculture, and again, that's getting delayed in talking about. There's agencies that act more like activists every day, and like the EPA, and trying to regulate farmers and ranchers out of business across the country. That's a huge issue and something we work on daily. Then you, of course, have the activist groups like the Humane Society of the United States, who make no secret that they want an end to production agriculture and are going to do anything that they can to put a stop to it. We fight those battles on a daily basis for producers in D.C.
And tell us this, what are some of the specific benefits that folks receive when they become a member of National Cattlemen's Beef Association?
You know, the biggest benefit is really the work being done on their behalf every day in D.C. and the staff that's there fighting for them. But as a way to thank them for their support, we've had some really nice partnerships with companies to pay them back and add a little bit of value to their operation, whether they can save, you know, money on a New Holland tractor or John Deere equipment or Caterpillar equipment. We also have discount programs with Cabela's, so if you need some new sporting equipment or for fun, and then, you know, if they ever get to have some fun, you know, or for anything for their cattle operation, they can get discounted disc cards through Cabela's. And then, of course, we have discounts through Roper and Stetson for those boots that they wear out working so hard.
Very good. Kate, thank you so much for all you do for NCBA.
Thank you, Kevin.
To find out more about NCBA membership, just visit the website. That's beefusa.org. Coming up on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
BRD is the main disease we fight with weaning cattle, so it's something that's on our minds daily.
We'll get insight on preventative treatment to stay ahead of BRD. Plus, We'll head to West Texas to meet a ranching family that's a regional winner of the Environmental Stewardship Award. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV.
Its arrival is as routine as the truck that brings the next load of calves. You stand ready, waiting, watching for symptoms. A revolutionary new weapon in hand, unique chemistry and hard-hitting active ingredient. Longer duration in the respiratory tract, rapid absorption. Join the Zuprevolution. Zuprevo, Tilda Pearson. See your veterinarian.
It's time to gear up for fall with big savings on John Deere hay equipment. Get 0% financing on mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. And for a limited time, get up to $3,600 off a new 8 or 9 series round baler. Plus, an extra $750 in-season bonus. So don't wait. Come in today before these Gear Up for Fall savings come to an end.
Welcome back. According to industry estimates, bovine respiratory disease is the most costly disease in the beef cattle business. As producers, we're always looking for ways to combat the disease that negatively impacts our bottom line and taxes our resources in the process. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Matt Fleck heads to East Central Texas to learn what one operation is doing to help stay ahead of BRD.
My dad started this business 30 plus years ago. My dad's done this all his life, and it's all that myself and my brothers have ever known.
Craig Scarmardo has a lifetime of experience in the cattle business. Scarmardo Cattle Company is a unique order buyer that meets a very important niche in the beef industry for many of their customers.
We work, depending on the time of the year, between 70 and 80 auctions a week, 12 to 15 sales a day, 6 days a week. And we spread out and buy those calves, and they come back here. We sort them up according to the kind and the quality and the weight, and ship them back to our customers, to fill the needs that they have, whether it be stocker customers or feed yard customers.
Basically, it's our job to satisfy the customers that we buy cattle for. We look at every calf, put them where we feel that they belong after we've talked to our customers and know what their particular calf is that they're looking for.
As with any operation, Scarmardo Cattle Company has many challenges they face on a daily basis, but one of their main concerns is bovine respiratory disease, or BRD as it's commonly referred to. BRD is a disease that costs the beef industry over $1 billion every year.
BRD is the main disease we fight weaning cattle, so it's something that's on our minds daily.
Craig and his team have to keep herd health at the top of their priority list because some of the animals they purchase are considered to be high risk for BRD. High-risk cattle include animals that have been exposed to harsh weather conditions, as well as animals that have been recently commingled, transported, or weaned, resulting in suppressed immune systems.
Well, high-risk cattle can mean a lot of different things. It's cattle that have got an elevated stress level due to several different things, whether that be time in transport, whether that be weather conditions where they come from, the time of the year, different things like that can just add to their stress level, and then we'd call those cattle high risk. The cattle that we buy predominantly at the auctions, they're going to be some of the high risk type calves. Most of those cattle were jerked off their mama the day before they went to an auction. They came through that, and then they come to this facility here, and they're just at a really high stress period in their life.
There's no telling how long they've been weaned, how long they've been at the sale barn before they're sold. I know especially like a lot of cattle come in on the weekends and may not be sold till Tuesday or Wednesday. We don't know that when we buy them, so that pretty well makes them high risk.
We work closely with our veterinarian to try to come up with a protocol that works on a specific set of cattle according to how we treat them and what we do. Sometimes we give them an antibiotic as a metaphylaxis, and sometimes we don't, just depending on the weight of the cattle, the time of the year, pasture conditions, a lot of different things.
Dr. Goodman, a nearby veterinarian in Navasota, Texas, says cattle that are purchased at auctions are often the epitome of high-stress cattle, making them highly susceptible to contracting BRD.
It is the deadliest disease in America, period. You can hear these calves bawling in the background. You go over there, you got cell tags on them. We don't know what their vaccination history is. We know they've been commingled, come from multiple sources, smaller, younger calves. It's when those calves are going to break. You can just about bet on it.
A BRD outbreak can be detrimental to any operation, and Scamardo Cattle Company is doing everything they can to keep the cattle as healthy as possible while under their care.
BRD is probably the disease that has the most economical impact on our business as far as weaning calves. And so what we're always looking for is an angle to try to keep our cattle healthy, number one, but to also impact our bottom line. And when we control BRD, then we do both.
There's really no way to calculate what you've lost in performance, but it is definitely a big expense to be calculated in your cost of your cattle.
We'll have more from Texas when we come back. Stay with us.
I am an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because NCBA is our voice in Washington.
I'm an NCBA member.
I am an NCBA member because I feel it's important that we have an association such as this in Washington, D.C. to support our cattlemen throughout the country.
I am an NCBA member. Join me today.
New Holland equipment is built smart for the way you farm, and the T6 series tractors from New Holland are the ideal mid-range tractors for cattlemen. Whether your job is loader work, operating hay equipment, moving round bales, or pulling a mixer wagon, the T6 provides power and performance with optimal comfort. Choose from 3 4-cylinder and 3 6-cylinder models with the right combination of transmission, hydraulic, and cab options to fit specific haying or row crop applications. And T6 engines are Tier 4A emissions compliant, featuring New Holland's exclusive Eco Blue technology. Visit your New Holland dealer to learn more about the complete lineup of New Holland equipment, in addition to all of the benefits available to cattle producers.
Welcome back. Let's return to Texas and reporter Matt Fleck to learn more about keeping cattle healthy.
Baytril 100 Injectable, a product from Bayer Animal Health, has been on the market for a long time as an option for the treatment of infected cattle, but has also received FDA approval for the control of BRD in high-risk cattle.
What it means to me is Baytril 100 being produced or recommended as being approved for metaphylaxis is that now we have that choice when we're trying to make a prediction on these hard, high-stress calves, high-risk calves. Cattle that have been commingled, long stress, high stress. If we can be a predictor, I tell my clients it's kind of like being a meteorologist. If I can give you over prediction over 20%, then Baytril 100 or most metaphylactic drugs will pay for themselves. They will be cost effective.
With the FDA giving Baytril 100 a control claim, that could give somebody the ability to come in and treat a whole pen of cattle as opposed to having to pull and treat.
Baytril 100 has always been one of my first treatment antibiotics. And it's not only me, but a lot of other veterinarians that do this type of work, we always would wish that it would, have been out earlier for metaphylactic reasons.
The FDA approval for using Baytril 100 as a means to control BRD gives producers more options when choosing how to stay ahead of this costly disease.
When they approved the Baytril 100 as a metaphylaxis, they gave us another tool to be able to combat the BRD that we face. What it would allow you to do is catch cattle early and to be able to get the whole pen doctored at one time so that you get that pen on feed and going a little faster as opposed to having to pull and treat. And it's also a factor from a time management issue. You've got so many people to watch after so many cattle, and after you would go in there and give the whole pen a metaphylaxis, then you'd be able to combat more of the BRD. Staying ahead of BRD is really important. It's always a lot easier to stay ahead of it than it is to get ahead of it. And so once you get behind, it's never catching up. You're always kind of behind the 8 ball.
We always think of BRD with the production medicine. We have a lot of pneumonia in the cow-calf sector that people don't realize.
Dr. Goodman not only recommends Baytril 100 injectable to his clients, but he also uses it as part of an animal health protocol in his own herd.
I use Baytril 100 extensively in my personal herd of cow-calf operation. And when I do go ahead and background these calves and precondition them, that is again, my first choice. I got a good education at Texas A&M. I got a real good education. But I got my best education from raising my cattle and treating my cattle and being able to go in and recognize not only from a veterinary aspect of it, but it's helped me understand from a marketing aspect so I can better relate to my clients.
And being able to relate to his clients better about his own personal experiences with BRD and products that he's had success with hopefully means there are a few less operations struggling with BRD outbreaks.
You know, very simply put, if we can prevent a wreck, and if we're good predictors as veterinarians, if we can prevent a wreck, a class of calf, then obviously we're going to push the control. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Then, you know, there's a fine line. Like I said, it's like predicting the weather, right? We can't always predict the weather. We can have the models of these calves. We can have the models of the weather patterns. But we can't always predict exactly how that's going to turn out.
While Bruce and Craig say keeping all the cattle healthy is very important to the success of Scamardo Cattle Company, they also attribute that success to their focus on customer service.
The key to our success is customer service. We do the best job that we can to make all of our customers happy.
I think just showing up every day and really giving everything you got, trying to do the best job you can for your customers, take care of their cattle the way we'd want ours taken care of, I think that's what gives us success.
Reporting from East Central Texas, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
If you'd like to learn more about Baytril 100 and other Bayer animal health products, visit our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Just ahead, we'll visit an award-winning ranch in Texas, so stay with us.
To stay up to date on beef industry news and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, check out beefusa.org. You'll find news on both the Federation of State Beef Councils and the work of NCBA on Capitol Hill. Plus, link to NCBA programs like the blog, Beltway Beef, updates on the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and the latest from NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Connect today at beefusa.org.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
We've been featuring the winners of the Regional Environmental Stewardship Awards in recent weeks. The regional winners will all move on to compete for the National Award, which will be presented at the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Nashville, Tennessee. This week, we visit the Region 4 award recipients from West Texas to see how they've improved their operation in ways that have benefited the land and their bottom line.
Just after sunup, Frank and Sims Price are working side by side to move their cows. The father and son represent the fourth and fifth generations on the Price Ranch. That includes nearly 70,000 acres spread across 4 counties in West Texas.
We're a family ranching operation, goes back to 1876 when my great-grandfather first came to this country. You know, it's rare that families these days get to continue an operation and have the opportunity to work with their son.
Knowing the fact that it has been passed down for so many generations, it just gives you that extra drive to always see things through and through the hard times and the droughts and everything else. Gives you a sense that you have to keep going.
Today, the Price family gains income from hunting leases, a purebred sheep herd, and their primary focus, a cow-calf operation with 11 grazing units, managing each one so there is rarely a need for supplemental feeding of the cows.
You take feed out of the picture and you've reduced your labor, you've reduced your equipment cost, fuel cost, and we're able with our grazing program for the cattle to respond very well to that. We adjusted our calving season to where we're working with nature better.
We treat it like a business. It makes us look at the land. The land is our inventory. We have to tend to the land and tend to the grass and grow grass in order for it to allow us to make a profit on the cattle. Without taking care of the land, we're going nowhere.
Drought and wildfire have devastated much of the Price Ranch in recent years. One key to sustaining the business is their single herd grazing program that results in many pastures getting 120 days or more of rest. Frank creates detailed grazing charts to guide the movement of the cattle.
He has really figured out what works for our operation as far as moving cattle, when to move them, and being able to read the land and tell if what we're doing is right or if what we're doing is wrong and how to adjust to that, if we need to destock, if we need to move faster.
He is one of the best grazing managers that I know of. And in terms of how he rotates, he thinks about where they're going to go next and he puts it into the whole package.
It's wonderful that we're able to have the grazing program we have, see the land respond, improving our grasses and the cover on the ground, and able to utilize small range better and be able to show a profit while we're doing that. That's a neat trick in my book.
Another key to improving grasses on the Price Ranch is brush control, often done in partnership with NRCS, using prescribed burns and mechanical and chemical methods of removing mesquite and other invasive species.
Without the NRCS, we would be covered up in brush. The NRCS helps make this a profitable business in the fact that they help us with the brush work.
We generally like to use a mechanical treatment. That way we can take out the trees we don't like and leave the bigger, prettier trees, end up with a kind of a savanna effect.
They understand the value of grass. They understand that their sustainability is in grass production, not necessarily in livestock production. I think they view livestock as a tool. It's an important tool to them, but a tool to harvest the forage that they're growing.
For Frank and Sims, the work of caring for their land is never ending. Miles of fencing had to be rebuilt after wildfires, and the Prices have extended the reach of their water systems, in many cases recycling large rubber tires as water tanks. From brush control to grazing management, their efforts have improved the land for both cattle and wildlife.
And I think the Price ranches have served as an example of how they can take these properties and configure a strategy that is well suited to both the livestock and the wildlife needs.
You know, I believe that a true conservationist is a person who has the ability to utilize a ranch like this and make a living from it, that it's economically working, but at the same time they can manage it so that they are sustaining or improving their natural resources. And Frank and Sims have found that balance.
With a focus on following their budget and business plan, the future of Price Ranch looks secure. Frank and Sims are working together to build on the family legacy of stewardship.
I'm proud of the fact that my father, a fourth-generation rancher, has stuck through the hard times. He's taught me to stick through the hard times. I'm continuing to learn, and without his perseverance and dedication to this ranch, we wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be allowed to be coming back here to work on it. And I pray that I can carry that on to my children someday.
It's a moving target, but working with that land and trying to make it better for the next generation, that should be our goal in life.
Help NCBA members improve the sustainability of this great industry by becoming a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or email us at c2c@beef.org. We'll be back with more right after this.
Ever wonder where the beef checkoff dollar goes and what it buys? The Federation of State Beef Councils is made up of the 45 qualified state beef councils that collect the $1 per head beef checkoff. Each council keeps control of 50 cents and sends 50 cents to the Cattlemen's Beef Board for use in national beef checkoff programs. Many states also choose to send a portion of their share to the Federation to expand national and international efforts. As a division of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the Federation of State Beef Councils works to support an effective state and national partnership, helping to increase beef demand through research, promotion, and education. Because producers themselves direct these programs, your beef checkoff dollars are in good hands. Learn more about the Federation of State Beef Councils by visiting beefusa.org.
This business can take time away and become more of your family than your actual family. My days were tough. I had a lot of doctoring, a lot of pulling. Now our days on the feed yard are happy days. It's more about looking at the cattle and enjoying what we're producing versus the alternative, which is pull and treat and bang our head against the wall. We have never wavered from Draxon. We've seen the benefits just keep getting better and better.
Welcome back. There's no better way to solve a problem than by preventing it in the first place. That's especially true of issues like bovine respiratory disease. During a visit to Nebraska, Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter learned how cutting-edge genetic technology may help prevent diseases like BRD in the future.
In the cattle industry, no disease is more costly than bovine respiratory disease, or BRD. But a USDA-funded project called the BRD CAP, or Coordinated Agricultural Project, is working toward genetic selection tools that could allow producers to choose cattle that are less susceptible to BRD.
I think it's very important. We know that BRD costs our industry millions and millions of dollars on an annual basis, and I think it's important to research it.
In the future, DNA technology will be applied to traits that we couldn't have dreamed of before. Traits that tie to the disease complex, bovine respiratory disease, would be a key element that we haven't addressed thus far from the genomic front. But our breeders have a keen interest in better characterizing that component in the genetics of their herd.
Angus Genetics Incorporated, a division of the American Angus Association, has been helping to lead the way in providing producers better genetic decision-making tools for economically important traits using genomically enhanced expected progeny differences, or EPDs.
The genomic enhanced EPDs provide fast, real-time feedback on an individual early in life. The EPDs have always been a sound selection tool. By adding that genomic piece, you can have predictions earlier in life on a calf for traits that may be difficult to measure or not expressed early in a calf's life. EPDs are the language of the industry, and so that way the breeders and users of EPDs can just go to that one source and not try to do checks and balances on phenotypic weights or a specific genomic result. We'll boil it down into one nice clean package.
To get to that genomically enhanced EPD, a DNA sample is collected and sent to the Breed Association, where the animal information is entered into the database and the DNA sample is assigned an anonymous identifier. Then it goes to a genotyping lab like GeneSeek, where the DNA is extracted from the sample. In the case of hair cards, several follicles are punched out of the hair card and placed in a tube. In the case of blood cards, a hole punch is used to punch a sample from the blood card into into the tube. Once in the tube, DNA is extracted from the sample and run over an SNP chip or bead chip to obtain a genotype. This information is converted into an MBV, a molecular breeding value.
Essentially, almost every breeding association in both beef and dairy are utilizing data that is coming from our laboratories here at GeneSeq. They're using primarily data that's collected on high-density bead chips.
This information is then returned to the breed association, where it's combined with the performance records and pedigree information and made available to the producer in the form of a genomically enhanced EPD.
So the future of DNA testing in beef cattle breeding, I really think on the seed stock side, it's going to become standard equipment, if you will, for selling registered Angus seed stock. As we move farther out into the future and the technology becomes more affordable, perhaps we may even see that moving, and we see it already moving into the commercial sector for aiding in selection and mating decisions in commercial cattle as well.
Producers themselves play a key role in the overall genomics process because they're the ones collecting DNA, tissue, blood, or hair samples from their cattle. Getting those collections done correctly is the first critical step to having good data to make genetic progress.
We want to make sure the FTA or blood cards are dried properly. We definitely want to avoid moldy samples or samples that have been exposed to extreme conditions, temperature, extreme sunlight, those types of things.
Common problems that are encountered with blood cards are samples with blood clots, moldy cards, and cards with tattoo ink on the card. Likewise, too little blood on the cards presents a problem of insufficient sample.
One of the most common problems that we get with samples coming into the lab would be a blood card that might be overspotted. And so I think that in general people think more is better. In the case of a blood card, we need just really a small amount of blood, about the size of a quarter, for example. Any more than that, the DNA spot may not dry out effectively enough before it might have bacteria or fungal growth on that blood, and then that would present a problem with downstream applications.
To handle the samples, our breeders collect the DNA material, whether that's blood spotted on a card or a hair sample, for example, and they ship that material to our office here. In addition, they can go into the website on their customer account and go ahead and make that order electronically. Essentially, our customer service representatives will know that that sample is due to arrive. Once we receive that DNA material here, we'll make sure that there's a barcode either pre-printed on those cards or associated with the hair sample.
We'll have more on the value of using genetic testing to help improve animal health when we return. Stay with us.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right, where it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots. When you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real, feeding my family a home-cooked meal. That's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
I'm Kevin Oxner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Join me Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV. Welcome back. Let's return to the American Angus Association in St. Joseph, Missouri, and Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter to learn more about improvements in genetic testing and how they're shaping the future.
Other key factors in creating valuable genomic data include the speed and accuracy with which data samples are delivered to and handled by the lab.
If the information comes back from the company, the genomic result, by Tuesday afternoon, then our breeders and clientele are able to see their updated genomic enhanced EPDs on Friday morning of that week. So they have that weekly real-time information provided to them.
When it comes to tackling BRD, the research will rely on large training populations of genotyped animals with BRD health records to develop prediction equations for genomically enhanced EPDs for disease resistance.
In order to measure traits like disease resistance, we would need to look at a couple of different animal populations, a susceptible animal population and a resistant animal population. And then we would be looking at variation with respect to genetic markers for each of those animals in each of those populations.
For the breeders, genomics would be a great solution to how they could better characterize their animals for difficult to measure traits. To be able to characterize their cow herd and calf crops for BRD would be an opportunity that they could provide to their future bull buyers. They could use it in their selection programs. And with that comes some challenges. In order to hone in on a genomic piece, then we have to have appropriate training populations and learn what the DNA pieces are that need to be in an applicable test that can be taken to the ranch.
Genomics can help with difficult to measure traits like disease resistance because once training populations have been developed and tests have been developed for those traits, then producers at large in the industry can use those genomic tests on animals that may not actually have the trait measured but still make genetic progress.
From our breeders, we always receive questions about genetic selection tools for disease resistance. Bovine respiratory disease is always top of mind in our industry in terms of the costs associated with it. In future work and research, we'd like to identify genetic selection tools tied to BRD and make that a valuable future piece of the tools that we offer. Is that something that'll show up tomorrow? Probably not, but I think as an industry we have to buy in as a collaborative group to try to achieve that goal.
For producers, a decision-making tool based on genomics could ultimately help fight BRD, a disease that costs the industry as much as $1 billion a year. And that tool is on the radar screen for researchers working together in the BRD CAP project. I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To learn more about the USDA BRD CAP program and other industry trends, visit the project's website at brdcomplex.org or log on to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. A visit with our friend Baxter Black is coming up next. Stay with us.
I'm an NCBA member.
I'm an NCBA member because I think as an advocacy group, NCBA has done some great things for our industry, and I kind of feel compelled to give back some of what they've done for us.
Because this organization is looking out for cattle producers.
They understand what makes our cow-calf business profitable.
Join me today.
Join me today.
Join NCBA today. Head to beefusa.org or call 866-USA-BEEF.
It's the official monthly publication of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The National Cattleman is produced exclusively for NCBA members and includes coverage of the news and events affecting our industry. From Capitol Hill to the far side of cattle country, the National Cattleman provides information NCBA members need. Every issue includes market analysis, feature stories, and practical management tips. Start receiving your copy of The National Cattleman. Call 866-USA-BEEF or go online to beefusa.org and join today.
We know who made that hitch. We know who cut the steel, who milled the ball, and who welded the seams. We know who tested, measured, and checked. We even know who thought the whole thing up. We're B&W, and we know your hitch. Because we don't make them halfway around the world. We make them all right here. B&W. Trusted.
Feeding the world is a big job. The Dr. Kenneth and Caroline McDonald Inc. Foundation has committed more than $2 million to fund research at the University of Nebraska, Oklahoma State University, and Texas A&M University to improve efficiency in the cattle industry and to hold an annual cow-calf symposium. The first symposium was held at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln on September 12th and 13th. This cow feeding research supports the entire beef industry.
I went out with Mr. Dewey, maybe learned a thing or two. We motored through his pasture to the cows, till our paths befell a crossing, a trail laid to waste, like 40 rhinos passed by pulling plows. You? I asked. He nodded. I was out here yesterday. I had to pull a calf, came straight from town, but I used my regular method, what I call the hook and chain, where I sneak up on them when they're laying down. And then I chain their little foot up, slip the hook onto the link, the big one on the end, you know the one I mean. And then I put my boot into it. Always keep the pressure tight. That way they never get up till you're done. A hook? I asked. What kind of hook? From the rubble on the floor, he fished a good-sized hay hook from the mound. It was old as Grandma's photos, and no doubt it was handmade. It looked like some old stirrups that he'd found. See, I prop my back against the cow with my boot here in the hook and push against her when she starts to strain. I get quite a bit of leverage, but they never do get up as long as I keep that pressure on the chain. I see, I said, though I didn't. I looked back across the trail. I could picture what happened in my mind when the old cow quit the country through the cactus and the rocks with Mr. Dewey dragging along behind. Well, that explains those nasty bruises and that gash there on your ear. But what went wrong to sabotage your plot? Well, I was wearing city footwear, not my boots like I should. It slipped right to the handle and I got caught. But you know, they never get up if you keep the pressure on. I've proven that a million times. And I'll show you. If we spot one that's in need of our assist, I've got the chain hook here upon the floor. I glanced down to the floorboard. He was wearing his sandals. There's one a calving now, he said. Just look. Well, so what? I asked, suspicious. Well, I see you're wearing mud boots. With that, old Dewey handed me the hook. This is Baxter Black from out there.
Thanks, Baxter. Don't go away. We'll have more after this.
Follow me to Tennessee. Join your fellow cattlemen in Nashville for the 2014 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show. It's the oldest and largest convention for the beef industry, and it's great for education, networking, and fun. Plus, check out the NCBA Trade Show for the latest technology. It's the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, February 4th through 7th in Nashville. Visit beefusa.org for more. NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman is your source for industry updates that impact your operation.
The National Cattlemen's Beef Association is continuing its fight against the so-called death tax.
Hear from congressional members on important issues. Learn about the best practices for beef quality assurance and visit operations from around the country. All in 1 hour. NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern on RFD TV.
Welcome back. Follow Me to Tennessee is the theme of the 2014 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Nashville. The convention is coming up in early February, and NCBA members are already looking forward to heading to Nashville.
Wow, NCBA Trade Show. It's amazing. If you have not been to the NCBA Trade Show, you should come to the NCBA Trade Show, because you can't imagine how many things there are that people are selling or have products and services that are all for the beef industry. It is amazing.
Well, Nashville's always a great spot for us. It's pretty central, and it just seems like folks like to come to Nashville. Everything's right there at the Upper Land, and they don't have to travel out too far. And so I'm optimistically happy that we're going to have a great convention there. Last time we were there, it was the best convention we'd had in a long time. So I think it's going to be a great convention, and I encourage our producers to please try to make it.
The Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show is open to all cattlemen and women, and it's scheduled for next February 4th through the 7th in Nashville. Find out more at beefusa.org. For this week's Legacy Photos, we head back to the Price Ranch in West Texas and the Region 4 Stewardship Award winners. Let's take a look. Don't forget, you can send us pictures of your farm or ranch by visiting our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Include your ranch or farm name and your hometown, and we may use them on a future episode. That's our time for this edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here next week on RFD TV.